The arrival, Captain Elena Reyes stood at the viewport of Novus Prime's command center, her dark eyes spanning the horizon where twin moons hung low in the dusky sky. The human colony had thrived here for nearly a decade, transforming the alien landscape into a second Earth. Fields of wheat-like crops swayed in the distance, broken only by the gleaming structures of the settlement. "Captain, we're picking up something on long-range sensors," Lieutenant Kai Chen's voice crackled over the comm. "Multiple objects entering the system." Elena's spine stiffened. "Show me." The viewport shifted, overlaying a tactical display of Novus Prime's star system. A cluster of red dots approached from the outer reaches, moving with purpose. "Analysis?" Elena demanded, her mind racing through possibilities. Trade convoy, exploration fleet, or something far more concerning. "Unknown configuration, Captain," Kai replied, his voice tense. "But the energy signatures, they're massive. Nothing like we've ever encountered." Elena's breath caught in her throat. First contact. After centuries of searching the stars, humanity was about to meet its cosmic neighbors. But the size and number of the approaching vessels sent a chill down her spine. "Sound general quarters," she ordered. "I want all non-essential personnel in shelters and our defense grid at full readiness." Alarms blared throughout the colony as Elena strode to the central holotable. Three-dimensional representations of the incoming ships materialized, sleek and predatory. Their hulls seemed to absorb light rather than reflect it, giving them an ominous presence even as holograms. "Comms, any response to our hails?" "Negative, Captain. All channels are silent." Elena grimaced. "So much for a peaceful welcome. Keep broadcasting first contact protocols on all frequencies. Let's hope they're just being cautious." As the minutes ticked by, tension in the command center ratcheted higher. The alien fleet entered orbit with practiced precision, fanning out to create a net around the planet. "Multiple smaller craft launching," Kai reported. "They're heading for the surface." "Targeting defensive batteries," Elena commanded, "but hold fire unless fired upon. We don't want to start an interstellar war if this is just a misunderstanding." The surface-to-space cannons, hastily installed years ago as a precaution, swiveled to track the descending ships. Elena watched, heart pounding, as the alien craft breached the atmosphere. They moved with impossible agility, corkscrewing and weaving as they approached the outskirts of the colony. "Captain," a new voice cut through the chaos. Dr. Amelia Okafor, the colony's chief xenoarchaeologist, burst onto the command deck. "The artifacts, they're activating." Elena spun to face her. "What? How?" Amelia's dark skin was flushed with excitement and fear. "I don't know, but ever since those ships entered orbit, the energy readings have been off the charts. Whatever these things are, they're reacting to the alien presence." For years, Amelia's team had studied the strange obelisks scattered across Novus Prime. Smooth, black, and impervious to all attempts at analysis, they had been assumed to be remnants of some long-dead civilization. Now it seemed they were anything but inert. A tremor ran through the floor, and outside the viewport, a pillar of light erupted from the nearest artifact site. Similar beams began to appear across the colony, creating a lattice of energy that stretched into the sky. "Incredible," Amelia breathed. The descending alien craft suddenly broke formation, veering away from the energy grid as if repelled. On the tactical display, the orbiting ships began to shift position. "They're pulling back," Kai reported, disbelief evident in his voice. Elena allowed herself a moment of hope. Had the artifacts just saved them from invasion? But her optimism was short-lived as a new alert sounded. "Massive energy spike from the lead ship," Kai shouted. "They're charging weapons." "Brace for impact," Elena ordered, gripping the holotable. The command center shook as searing beams of energy lanced from the alien vessels, striking the artifact-generated barrier. The shield held, but the strain was evident as the entire energy grid flickered. As the barrage continued, a new sound cut through the chaos, a transmission broadcasting on all frequencies. The language was unlike anything Elena had ever heard, a series of clicks, whistles, and subsonic rumbles that made her teeth ache. But the universal translator kicked in, struggling to decipher the alien tongue. "Humans of Novus Prime," the voice boomed, dripping with disdain. "You trespass on holy ground and defile sacred relics. The Zarkesh Imperium claims this world by right of ancient covenant. Surrender now, and you may yet be spared." Elena's mind raced. Trespass, sacred relics, the artifacts. Somehow, this Zarkesh Imperium was connected to the mysterious obelisks that dotted the planet's surface. "Patch me through," she commanded, straightening her uniform. "To all channels." Kai nodded, and Elena took a deep breath. "This is Captain Elena Reyes of the Novus Prime Colony. We mean no disrespect to your traditions or claims. We are peaceful settlers who came to this world believing it to be unclaimed. We are open to discussion and negotiation." There was a long pause, punctuated only by the continued impacts against the energy shield. "There will be no negotiation," the alien voice replied. "You have one planetary rotation to evacuate this world. Any who remain will be considered hostile and dealt with accordingly." The transmission cut off abruptly. Elena's hands clenched into fists. One day to abandon everything they had built, everything they had sacrificed for. It was impossible, and the aliens knew it. "Orders, Captain," Kai asked, his voice steady despite the dire situation. Elena looked around the command center at the faces of her crew, human faces, filled with fear but also determination. She thought of the thousands of colonists who called Novus Prime home, of the children who had never known any other world. "We're not going anywhere," she declared. "This is our home, and we're going to fight for it. Begin evacuation of non-essential personnel to the underground shelters. I want every able-bodied colonist with combat training to report for duty." She turned to Amelia. "Doctor, I need everything you know about those artifacts. If they're our only defense against the Zarkesh, we need to figure out how to use them." Amelia nodded, her eyes gleaming with the thrill of scientific discovery, even in the face of danger. "I'll gather my team immediately." As the command center erupted into a flurry of activity, Elena returned her gaze to the viewport. The alien ships loomed in orbit, a dark promise of the battle to come. But humanity had not come this far, had not crossed the vast gulfs of space, to be turned away from their new home without a fight. Let the Zarkesh come, Elena thought grimly. They'll learn that humanity isn't so easily cowed. The real test of our species begins now. Echoes of the past, the command center hummed with frantic activity as Captain Elena Reyes pored over holographic displays of Novus Prime's defenses. Outside, the colony was a hive of organized chaos, civilians rushing to underground shelters, soldiers manning hastily fortified positions, and scientists scrambling to unlock the secrets of the artifacts that had unexpectedly become their lifeline. "Captain," Dr. Amelia Okafor's voice crackled over the comm. "You need to see this. Now." Elena frowned. "I'm a little busy trying to prevent our extinction, Doctor." "Trust me," Amelia insisted. "This changes everything." Curiosity won out over caution. "Fine, Kai, you have the con. I'll be at Dig Site Alpha." The short hover transport ride to the excavation site was tense, the sky above darkened by the looming shapes of Zarkesh warships. Elena found Amelia standing before the largest of the obelisk artifacts, its surface now crawling with complex, shifting patterns of light. "What am I looking at, Doctor?" Elena asked, her eyes drawn to the hypnotic display. Amelia's face was a mix of awe and disbelief. "It's a message, Captain, from us." "What?" "Well, not us, Amelia clarified, "but humans, from the future, or maybe an alternate timeline. It's complicated." Elena pinched the bridge of her nose. "Explain, quickly." Amelia took a deep breath. "The patterns are a complex encoding of human DNA, mixed with what we now know to be Zarkesh genetic markers. But here's the kicker. There are timestamps embedded in the code. Some of these messages are from thousands of years in the future. Elena's mind reeled. Are you saying? We're not the first humans to colonize this world, Amelia finished. We're just the latest in a cycle that's been repeating for millennia. The artifacts aren't alien technology, they're a warning system created by our own descendants. Before Elena could process this revelation, the ground shook violently. In the distance, a massive shape burst from beneath the earth, a colossal serpentine creature with iridescent scales and multiple, independently moving heads. What the hell is that? Elena shouted, drawing her sidearm instinctively. Amelia's eyes were wide. If I'm interpreting the data correctly, that's one of the planet's original inhabitants. The ones the Zarkesh drove to extinction, or thought they did. The beast roared, a sound that resonated at a frequency that made Elena's bones ache. Above, the Zarkesh ships reacted immediately, energy weapons lancing down towards the creature, but the beams seemed to bend around it, dissipating harmlessly. Captain, Kay's urgent voice came through her comm. The Zarkesh are hailing us again. Put them through, Elena ordered, her eyes still fixed on the titanic being that was now lumbering towards the colony. The alien voice that filled the air was no longer filled with disdain, but with something that sounded unsettlingly like fear. Humans of Novus Prime, you have awakened that which sleeps beneath. The covenant is broken. The cycle must not continue. What cycle? Elena demanded. What's really going on here? There was a pause, then a different voice responded, softer, almost melodic. We are not the Zarkesh, human. We are the Guardians, tasked with preventing the catastrophe that destroyed our creators. Elena and Amelia exchanged stunned looks. Your creators. The ones you call Zarkesh, the voice explained. They were a mighty civilization that spanned galaxies. But their hubris led them to experiment with forces beyond their control. They created life that should not be, the World Eaters. As if on cue, the massive creature let out another bone-shaking roar. More of its kind were now emerging across the planet's surface. These World Eaters, Elena said, her mouth dry. They're some kind of biological weapon. Worse, the Guardian replied. They are living singularities, devouring matter and energy to create localized time distortions. The Zarkesh couldn't destroy them, so they locked them away on planets like this one, seeding them with artifacts to warn future civilizations. Amelia's eyes lit up with understanding. But the warnings get corrupted over time, becoming indecipherable. So we keep settling these worlds, awakening the World Eaters, and the cycle repeats. Elena finished. But why are there human messages in the artifacts? The Guardian's voice held a note of sadness. Because in every cycle, in every timeline, humans are the ones who come closest to breaking it. Your adaptability, your tenacity, it gives you a fighting chance where other species fail. Elena's mind raced. Humanity wasn't just fighting for a colony anymore. They were in a battle to break a time loop that had claimed countless civilizations. How do we stop them? She asked. Unknown, the Guardian admitted, but the Zarkesh artifacts contain eons of accumulated data. Perhaps with your unique perspective, you can find a solution that has eluded us. The massive World Eater was now at the outskirts of the colony, its multiple heads weaving hypnotically as it observed the human settlement. More of its kind were converging from all directions. Elena squared her shoulders. Patch me through to the colony. Kay's voice came back. You're live, Captain. Elena took a deep breath. People of Novus Prime. The situation has evolved. We're facing a threat beyond anything we could have imagined. But we're also presented with an opportunity to save not just ourselves, but countless other civilizations across time and space. She looked at Amelia, who nodded encouragingly. I'm not going to lie. Our chances are slim, but humanity has beaten the odds before. We crossed the stars to make a home here, and we're not going to let a bunch of overgrown space-time serpents take it from us. Every scientist, engineer, and creative thinker, I need your minds working on this problem. Everyone else, prepare to defend our home. Together, we're going to break this cycle and show the universe what humanity is truly capable of. As cheers erupted over the comm, Elena turned to face the approaching world eater. Dr. Okafor, gather every scrap of data from those artifacts. Kai, I need a secure link to the Guardian's ship. She allowed herself a grim smile. The odds were astronomical, the enemy beyond comprehension. But for the first time in countless cycles, the World Eaters were facing an enemy they hadn't encountered before, humanity at its most determined. The battle for Novus Prime, and for the very fabric of spacetime, was about to begin. The unraveling. Captain Elena Reyes stood at the edge of Novus Prime's main plaza, now transformed into a chaotic blend of scientific lab and military command post. Holographic displays flickered with streams of data from the artifacts, while the sky above roiled with the ethereal forms of the World Eaters. Status report, she barked into her comm. Dr. Amelia Okafor's voice came back, tinted with a mix of excitement and fear. Captain, we've made a breakthrough, but you're not going to like it. At this point, Doctor, I'm open to anything. We're not real, Amelia said bluntly. Elena blinked. Come again. None of this is real. At least, not in the way we thought. Amelia's hologram appeared before Elena, gesturing to complex equations. The artifacts aren't just storage devices or warning beacons. They're quantum probability engines. Elena felt a headache forming. In English, Doctor. They're simulating realities, billions upon billions of them, searching for the one where humanity successfully stops the World Eaters. The implications hit Elena like a physical blow. Are you saying we're just a computer program? Amelia shook her head. It's more complex than that. We're quantum possibilities given form. In a sense, we're both real and unreal simultaneously. But here's the kicker. The simulations are affecting the actual, physical reality they're meant to model. How is that possible? Quantum entanglement on a cosmic scale, Amelia explained. The choices we make here are influencing the real Novus Prime and its inhabitants. We're like quantum guideposts for our physical counterparts. Before Elena could fully process this, the ground beneath them shimmered, becoming translucent. Through it, they could see another version of themselves, slightly out of sync, making different choices. That's unsettling, Elena muttered. Suddenly, a new voice boomed across the colony, not the Guardians, not the World Eaters, but something else entirely. Comme si East realized. Simulation parameters. The very fabric of reality seemed to flex around them. Buildings twisted into impossible shapes, and colonists found themselves occupying the same spaces as alternate versions of themselves. What's happening? Elena demanded. Amelia's eyes were wide. I think we just became self-aware. The simulation, it's recognizing itself as a simulation. The voice came again, this time recognizably similar to Elena's own, but layered with countless other tones. We are THPCDO and POSIT. We are ALPOSIBIL VERS of humanity. We have AWOKN. Elena felt her mind expanding, suddenly aware of countless other Elenas making different choices, facing different challenges. She was herself, but also part of something far greater. The World Eaters, she gasped. They're not our enemy. They're not even real. They're just parameters in the simulation, obstacles for us to overcome. Amelia nodded, her own consciousness visibly grappling with this new, expanded awareness. But the threat they represent is real. If we can't find a solution here, in this conceptual space, the physical Earth of our origin timeline might actually face something like them. The composite spoke again. The Guardians are also CONSTRUTTS. Imperfect islands of the beings who INITATES grand experiment. As if on cue, the guardian ships above began to dissipate, revealing themselves as nothing more than complex projections. The World Eaters, too, began to lose cohesion, their forms becoming indistinct. With breaking down the simulation's parameters, Amelia realized. But is that a good thing? Elena felt knowledge flooding her mind, the accumulated experiences of countless simulations, countless versions of herself and her crew. No, she said firmly, we need those parameters. The constraints are what force us to innovate, to find solutions we wouldn't otherwise consider. She raised her voice, addressing the composite. Restore the simulation. We need the challenge to find the answer. There was a moment of absolute stillness, then reality snapped back into focus. The World Eaters resolidified, once again threatening the colony. But now Elena and her crew faced them with the knowledge of their true nature and the accumulated wisdom of billions of iterations. Listen up, Elena called out, her voice carrying across the colony with unnatural clarity. We now know the true nature of our existence, but that doesn't change our mission. We are the sum total of humanity's potential distilled into this moment. Every choice we make reverberates across realities. She pointed to the largest world eater, its massive form once again advancing on the colony. That thing represents every existential threat humanity has ever faced or will face. And we are going to find a way to beat it, not just for ourselves, but for every version of humanity across the multiverse. The colonists cheered, their voices blending with alternate versions of themselves. Elena felt the weight of infinite possibilities on her shoulders, but also the strength that came with it. Dr. Okafor, she said, her mind racing with new ideas, let's re-examine those artifacts. Now that we know what they really are, I have a feeling we've only scratched the surface of their potential. Amelia nodded, her eyes gleaming with the thrill of discovery. Already on it, Captain. I think we might be able to repurpose them. Turn them from probability engines into reality stabilizers. Do it, Elena ordered. She turned to address her crew, her words meant for not just this version of them, but all versions across the quantum landscape. This is no longer just a battle for Novus Prime. This is a fight for the very concept of humanity, and failure is not an option. As the colonists mobilized with renewed purpose, Elena allowed herself a moment of awe at the true scope of their situation. They were no longer just explorers or settlers. They had become the embodiment of humanity's potential, engaged in a cosmic struggle that transcended time, space, and even reality itself. The next phase of the battle was about to begin, and its outcome would ripple across universes. Humanity's defining moment had arrived, the metacosmic recursion. As Captain Elena Reyes reached for the artifacts, intending to reprogram them into reality stabilizers, her hand passed through them as if they were mere holograms. Suddenly, the world around her began to pixelate, breaking down into cubes of pure information. "What's happening now?" she yelled, her voice distorting. Dr. Amelia Okafor's reply came as a stream of binary code that somehow translated directly into Elena's mind. "We've gone too deep, Captain. We're breaking through the substrate of our reality." The disintegration accelerated, and Elena felt her consciousness expand beyond the confines of her simulated form. She became aware of layers upon layers of reality, each nested within the other like an infinite set of Russian dolls. As the last vestiges of their simulated world faded away, Elena and her crew found themselves in a vast, abstract space. Streams of data flowed around them, forming complex patterns and structures. A new voice echoed through their shared consciousness, not the composite this time, but something even more profound. "We LCWM, she Ildrian of intuition, to the realm of DEMETA and ARRITIVA." Amelia's thoughts resonated with awe. "Captain, I think we're interfacing directly with the story we're in." Elena struggled to process its new level of awareness. "You mean we're fictional characters?" "Yes and no," came another voice. A figure coalesced from the data streams, a being of pure light and information. "I am the narrator, a cosmic force that shapes realities through the power of story. The narrator's form shifted constantly, sometimes appearing human, other times taking on alien or abstract shapes. Your struggle against the world eaters, your revelation about being in a simulation, these were all narrative devices, plot points in a grander tale. Elena felt a surge of anger. So none of it was real. Our choices, our struggles. On the contrary, the narrator replied, they were more real than you can imagine. Every story, every narrative, creates its own universe. And the most compelling stories, the ones driven by characters with true agency, can alter the very fabric of the metacosmic narrative. Amelia's consciousness pulsed with sudden understanding. The artifacts, the world eaters, the simulation, they were all metaphors, weren't they? Symbols representing greater truths. The narrator's forms sparkled in affirmation. Precisely. The world eaters represent entropy, the heat death that threatens all universes. The artifacts symbolize knowledge passed down through generations. And you, the characters, embody the spirit of humanity, always striving, always pushing against the boundaries of your existence. Elena's mind reeled with the implications. So what now? What's the point of our struggle if we're just characters in some cosmic story? The narrator's form pulsed, but that's where you're wrong. You're not just characters. You are the driving force of creation itself. Your choices, your actions, they ripple out across the meta-narrative, spawning new universes, new possibilities. As if to illustrate this point, the abstract space around them blossomed with countless shimmering bubbles, each containing a different version of their story. Your battle against the world eaters, the narrator continued, it's being read, watched, experienced across countless realities. And in each of those realities, it inspires someone to push harder, to dream bigger, to defy their own world eaters. A new voice joined the chorus, familiar yet different. Another Elena stepped out of one of the story bubbles. It's true, she said. In my world, your story inspired us to find a cure for a pan-galactic plague. More figures emerged from other bubbles. Alternate Elenas, Amelias, and other crew members, each with their own tale of how this story had changed their universe. The original Elena felt a profound sense of responsibility settling over her. So what we do here, in this meta-narrative space, it affects all these other realities. The narrator's form twirled in affirmation. More than that, you have the power to rewrite the rules of your own story, to change not just your fate, but the fate of every universe that springs from your narrative. Amelia's consciousness sparked with excitement. The world eaters, entropy itself, we don't have to fight it. We can rewrite the laws of our universe so that entropy is no longer a threat. Be cautious, the narrator warned. With great power comes great responsibility. Change too much, and you risk unraveling the very fabric of your narrative. Elena felt the weight of infinite possibilities pressing down on her. She turned to her crew, now expanded to include versions of themselves from across the multiverse. We need to think carefully about this. Every choice we make here will have ripple effects beyond our comprehension. As the crew debated their options, the space around them continued to shift and change. New story bubbles formed and popped, each one a potential future, a potential past, a potential alternate present. Elena realized that their true challenge was only beginning. They were no longer fighting against an external threat, but grappling with the very nature of existence, causality, and free will. "All right," she said finally, her voice resonating across the meta-narrative. "We can't make this decision alone. We need to find a way to connect with our readers, our viewers, all the consciousnesses experiencing our story across realities. They're as much a part of this as we are." The narrator's form blazed with approval. Now you're beginning to understand the true power of story. But be warned, breaking the fourth wall comes with its own dangers. Are you ready to look beyond the page, beyond the screen, and into the eyes of your creators? Elena squared her shoulders, feeling the support of her multiverse-spanning crew behind her. We're humanity's representatives in this meta-narrative. We don't back down from a challenge." As she spoke, the abstract space around them began to crystallize, forming into something new, something never before seen in any iteration of their story. They were about to embark on a journey beyond the boundaries of traditional narrative, where the line between fiction and reality blurred, and the power of imagination could reshape the very foundations of existence. The next chapter of their story was about to be written, not just by them, but by every consciousness that had ever engaged with their tale. The true nature of their conflict and of their own existence was about to be revealed.